What a great day to live the run. Thanks for joining us. Minutes after 6 bells, Rex Stevens in with Olympian Paul Terek. Each and every week, guys, we meet here, right here, to live the run. Easy to do on the Central Coast. Great to have you back in studio, Mr.
It's nice
Terek.
to be back. I've been gone for a while, a little vacation, and got to get dressed up for a day and then pretend I was, upper class.
I saw that. The tie, the suit, that's big-time stuff right there for an Olympian used to wearing spandex, tank tops, and running shoes.
I don't understand. Some people have the hardest time trying to figure out what to wear when they go out. Do I wear this dress? Do I wear these pants? Do I wear this shirt? And they go, I have one outfit. I have one suit, one nice dress shirt. I don't have a choice. It's like, hey, I got to stay in shape because if I don't fit in that, I'm going to look pretty awkward.
It's your go-to, if you will. If it's your first,
it's also my last resort.
If it's your first time joining us on the show, join us each and every week. You can follow us on Facebook.com/livingtherun. We'll put the podcast up there. Great show tonight. It's a lead in. I tell you, we're going to talk about getting out of our comfort zone a little bit later in the show. We'll have our blood boiler as usual. Book of the week. We're going to add book of the week to the show. Good book this last week. Good book from a health perspective on a lot of ways. We got an interview with Matt Smith coming up as well. Last week, we took Matt Smith, movement specialist and chiropractor out in Austin, Texas. We're going to move right up the chain of the body. We talked about ankle mobility last week. We'll talk a little bit about knee mobility and associations to pain. We talked about being symptom-free but still having ankle issues last week. Had a good test. We'll review that as well. We got a question for people. We'll hit this as well. Do I get to or do I have to? Big question you want to ask yourself as you go through the day in different avenues. And, of course, we'll hit the tips and takeaways at the end of the show. But first thing, Paul, you sent me an article this week, and I always thought this is good stuff and good for conversation. And it went back to the age-old piece. And if you're listening for the first time, we've heard this argument for a while. If I eat more meat, does that mean that I may increase my risk for some of the diseases that plague this country, cardiovascular diseases in particular, heart disease, stroke, or even cancers? This one focusing a little bit more on the processed meats, looking at some of those meats like the salamis, the hams, the hot dogs, the sausages. Good article. Appreciate the send. A quick review of the articles just simply looked at guys who ate meat more than 2.6 ounces a day of those processed meats increased dramatically the risk for heart disease, death by heart disease or stroke, as well as cancer. More of the same, Paul. What'd you take from the article?
Well, the hard part about sending the article to you was having to own up to the fact that I love pastrami cheeseburgers. And I know it's like the absolute worst meat you can possibly eat.
Less than 2.6 ounces of meat.
No, not where I get them. No, they're great where I get them.
Small amount of meat, Paul. I mean, think about that number right there.
Who wants a pastrami cheeseburger with less than 2.6 ounces of meat on it?
If you remember, it takes you right back to Wendy's and what'd they do? Where's the beef? Remember if we got to that small amount, 2 ounces, 3 ounces, 4 ounces or less, you often hear that a lot, a fist of meat. It just does not work for the average American today. We would not take a pastrami. There's no way you go back to that restaurant that gives you the pastrami sandwich with 2.6 ounces of meat.
What do you mean? There's no way I'd go back?
No way you go back.
Unfortunately, it's really good. But it was an eye opener. How just a lot of times they talk about it's averaged. They look at a big study and it's averaged out and the differences are so small. But and I can't remember the exact numbers, but it was a large difference. The percentage of men who either had heart disease or died from heart disease compared, that ate more than that 2.6 ounces of red meat compared to those who didn't. I mean, it's one of those things you kind of look at and you can't really say, well, maybe it was some other factor in their life. I mean, I'm sure that had a large part in it.
Yeah, no question. They look at it and again, they were looking at a pretty large portion of men over a long period of time. And again, forget the numbers for just a second. I mean, we're looking at 1 million people a year virtually in the United States that die from heart disease every single year. It's a big, big number. And of course, we've said it before, the biggest number that's changing is in our women. And the women are starting to match the men in heart disease as well. Always thought to be a middle-aged man deal, late 40s, early 50s, mid-50s.
I think we can thank Title IX for that and gender equity. You're welcome.
But he is Paul Terek, folks. But, they're going to argue exactly what you just said, actually, is they're going to come to you and say, look, heart disease is multifactorial. We will agree with that type of thing. There is no question about it. We were talking before the show, sedentary lifestyle. There certainly is the type A stress personality. But I think the thing that's most important here, and when they looked at this study in general, and again, it's more of a survey more than anything else, but the thing I thought was interesting is when you start to look at the processed meats versus the other meats, oftentimes beef gets a bad rap, or often people go, oh, I don't eat much red meat. I'm trying to keep myself healthier, if you will, quote unquote. The difference in these processed meats is all the additives. And it's one of those things that you and I have talked about on this show regularly, that when you start to look at what's in a grocery store, whether it be meat or something else, it's the additives and the processing, the tending to be totally unbalanced in our sodium consumption, that is more the worry here. And it just becomes a little bit naive to think that, hey, it's all the other factors that are contributing to my heart disease. It doesn't have anything to do with the pounds and pounds of processed meat full of additives.
Yeah, I think that the hardest part for me in getting, kind of getting aware nutritionally about what I was eating, and it wasn't until after I was really competing that I really started looking at it, was I grew up. Just you go to the grocery store, you buy what you've always known, you eat that. It's whether it's a comfort food or whatever, you don't really think about it. And then when you start telling yourself no and saying, hey, I got to eat healthier, you start to ask yourself millions of questions about why did I like this before? Why do I still want this when I know it's not good for me? Going to the grocery store is kind of like this philosophical debate for me now, because it's very hard to go in and just go get the things. It's really hard to shop. Basically, so I'm eating to live, not living to eat, kind of thing. And because it's without a background in this. For the normal person, it's going to be difficult to go to a grocery store and know what to get and what not to get, and what's processed and what's not processed, and what kind of things that are processed might not be as bad for you as other things that are processed.
Yeah, and it's a great part of what we're trying to do here on Living the Run is we're not trying to give you health advice. We're not trying to be your doctor in any stretch. You want advice? Go see a doctor, go see a specialist, and find out who you want to see. We're trying to use common sense, Paul, a little bit. And the common sense says, if you take a food and you continue to take it further and further away from nature, and you continue to heat it and then cool it and over-process it and do all these extra things, that the likelihood that it's going to resonate with your body and maximize your humanism goes down. I don't think that that's arguable whatsoever, and I think that it's a common sense deal that we have to start to look at. And when you look at meats, look at it from that perspective. We've talked about it before. Go organic meats, put processed meats on the bottom, consume them irregularly, not with any sort of routine at all, and certainly not in large portions when you do. This study talking about 2.6 ounces or less per day.
Well, the one thing that I've never seen in these studies is how much processed red meat or how much processed food can you actually digest in a given amount of time. I've never really seen that. I don't think anybody's ever taken the time to get that study to say, you eat so much processed red meat, but this is all, you might have 2.6 ounces, but your body only takes this much from that red meat because it takes so, our digestive system is only it's a finite system of time before it's in, and between the time it's in and before it's out.
Yeah, interesting question. I think it's probably something that could never really be accurately answered, simply because the system is way too dynamic. And you start to look at people's digestive issues today, and it's just multifactorial as you go down the road.
Yeah, but I would think that the processes it goes through, like when they're curing these meats, or the amount of salt that's going in, is that hampering, and how much is it hampering the digestive system? And is it taking away the nutrients that the large that's being taken out of the food? I just don't know.
Question. I mean, I hear what you're saying. It's almost like are we looking at inability to assimilate nutrients properly, or are we just looking at high toxicity due to extra preservatives,
or both?
Or both? The combination. Again, stay away from these. I tell you, Paul. My sons, we were reading a book last night, and it's a British series. It's absolutely brilliant. And the book was called Mr. Good, and it just talks about all these good things this guy does. And the thing that we kind of focused on with my kids last night is honesty. And, Mr. Good doesn't tell lies. And, it's a great, great thing because it gets old hearing people tell lies. Nobody likes to hear this. And I think it's becoming more and more old for the consumer with regards to labeling. We continue to see these things over and over. We talked about it last week. The beer industry mislabeling intentionally on their beers now, putting corn as an ingredient when they're using high fructose corn syrup. Completely different product, mislabeling. Now we had yesterday, once again, legislation shot down to put warnings on some of the things like sodas and other candies and things with large amounts of sugar that could influence a child's health, whether they're more prone to diabetes, more prone to obesity, more prone to energy issues. Again, not throwing those labels out there and again, trying to hide things. It feels like dishonesty. It doesn't feel like Mr. Good to me, a little more like Mr. Bad.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You haven't read the other book, the opposite to Mr. Good. It's called Mr. Congressman. And, but I guess I can kind of see both sides of that. And as a consumer, yeah, it would be great to have those things on there. But really, if they're putting the nutritional information on, you just got to turn it over and say sugars, 34 grams. Oh, look, the whole thing only weighs 40 grams. I'm going to go ahead and pass on this kind of thing. You know what I mean? You can't put a giant label on it that says contains large amounts of sugar when you're already putting the amount of sugar that's in it on the back. We just have to have more people that are conscious about what they're eating, just to turn it over and look and go, how much sodium is in this, how many grams of sugar in this, what are the total carbohydrates, all those kind of things. That's where we need to educate people and not really worry about, I think, putting labels on things that say, warning, this has a lot of sugar. It's like, yeah, it's soda. It's going to have sugar.
Yeah, and I guess it's got to start in the schools. A little bit unaware of what they're doing from the standpoint of educating at that school level, but you're asking 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, and 7-year-olds, Paul, to be able to ascertain by reading ingredient labels whether something's healthy when you've got an entire country that is dumbfounded both through ignorance but as well as just flat stupidity and not being able to make these decisions, and hence a lot of the disease and health-stricken problems that this country suffers from.
Yeah, I mean, that all goes back to, I think, being a responsible parent and making sure, 5 and 6-year-olds don't have jobs other than maybe mowing the lawn and they're not going to the store to buy their own stuff. Mom and dad should be right there and trying to educate them. And I think that goes into the whole argument, when they talk about this nationalized health care and everything. That's one of the big concerns is, well, if the average Joe is responsible for his own health care, he's probably going to at least try to take care of himself, because when he doesn't, it comes out of his pocket. Whereas, if you give somebody something, it's only worth the time that they've put into it. And if they haven't put any time or effort into it, they're probably not going to care too much.
Almost a little political idealism.
No,
little political idealism coming out of you. If the parents just did their job in this country. Oh, let's open up a can of worms, guys. We got a great rest of the show. Stay tuned. Book review. We're going to hit a great book. It's a must-read book. I'm going to try to bring one each and every week. I read a lot of books, and I tell you, there's some that are just must-reads. We'll bang that out as well. We got Do I Get To or Do I Have To? It's going to be kind of a fun segment. Tips and takeaways at the end, but don't forget next, Matt Smith. You're not going to want to miss this. We're going to talk a little knee pain, guys. Classic knee pain stuff, not necessarily due to trauma, but hey, my knee is just sore. It's on one side. Why might it be? We're going to talk movement specialist with Matt Smith from Austin, Texas, right here on Living the Run. Next.
You're listening to Living the Run on ESPN Radio 1280 The Ticket.
Hey guys, Paul Terek from Living the Run here. As a former Olympian, there is only one place myself and fellow athletes go when it comes to chiropractic care on the Central Coast. With 4 chiropractors in the clinic, Slow Wellness Center is the largest, most comprehensive group of docs in San Luis Obispo County. I began seeing Dr. Rex Stevens back in 2005 for spinal adjustments to help maximize my performance, minimize my injury, and allow me to compete at my best. When the difference between a win and a loss can be just a fraction of an inch, perfect alignment in all joints is essential. One of the great things about the team at Slow Wellness is no matter where I had an issue, whether it was my spine, my foot, knee, wrist, or shoulder, they were always able to help. This team, made up of Dr. Rex and Molly Stevens, Dr. Sachs, and Dr. Bandolo, is sure to help you reach your health and fitness goals too. If it's chiropractic care you need, go where I go, Slow Wellness Center. Check them out at slowwellness.com or call 543-8688.
Hey everyone, Eric Fiallo here from leftlanesports.com. Are you tired of paying full retail on your favorite outdoor and endurance brands? Well, whether you run, bike, swim, hike, climb, or surf, leftlanesports.com has got you covered. Save 50 to 70% off retail every day on brands like Under Armour, Asics, New Balance, Timex, Hurley, Patagonia, and more. Visit leftlanesports.com and sign up for a free membership. Plus, save on shipping by picking up your order at our headquarters in San Luis Obispo. leftlanesports.com. Gear you need, prices you want, service you deserve.
Puma Aquatics team offers year-round swim programming for novice, recreational, and competitive swimmers. For 16 years, Puma has developed some of the fastest swimmers on the Central Coast, as well as the nation. Puma has 3 convenient locations to choose from, providing programming for all of San Luis Obispo County. Puma offers swim assessments for new swimmers on Tuesdays and Thursdays at the SLO Kennedy Club, Atascadero Kennedy Club, and Arroyo Grande High School. For more information about Puma Aquatics, check out pumaswim.org. Join the Puma Pride and challenge yourself to reach new levels in your swimming. Puma Aquatics, where pride, passion, and persistence pay off.
Arts Cyclery wants to invite everyone to join the celebration. Arts has just been voted the best bike shop in San Luis Obispo County for the 22nd year in a row. To celebrate, Arts has great pricing across the whole store and specials like free gloves with any Castelli jersey or short purchase, free laser sunglasses with the purchase of any laser helmet, plus so much more. So come down to Art Cyclery at 181 Suburban Road and celebrate with great service, massive selection, and prices that will not be beat. Offers good while supplies last.
Did you know that many people endure aches and pains in their feet, legs, and back, but few recognize the solution for some of the more common causes are as simple as a more supportive and comfortable insole? At Cadence Insoles, we understand the insole in your shoe provides the first line of support and comfort for your feet. Designed by physical therapists and recommended by podiatrists, Cadence insoles provide the elusive combination of orthotic support with the shock-absorbing comfort of an insole. A local business? Visit cadenceinsoles.com for more information. Cadence Insoles. Support made comfortable.
We're back with Living the Run.
Welcome back to Living the Run. Rex Stevens in with Olympian Paul Terek. We are kindly discussing our roles as parents in educating our children.
And where I'm coming up short,
on what
I
to
think.
eat.
Yeah.
Always feels like he's coming up short. It's not a judgment. It's not a competition. All right, joining us now. We had him last week. Thankful to have him again this week. Movement specialist and chiropractor out in Austin, Texas. Matt Smith, thanks for coming back on the show, man.
Hey, fellas, how you doing?
Hey, you get graced with the presence of the great one, the Olympian.
What an honor.
I heard you were coming on. I figured I'd show up for a little bit and see what was going on.
I love it. I'm very excited that you're here, Paul.
Yeah, be very careful tonight, Matt. You know, Paul has already been on the borderline of talking politics. He started to bring out some idealism. We always want to be careful when someone resides in Texas. You know, we don't want to create a ruckus to the Texas crowd.
He is on. I can guarantee, as a Texan, he is on my side. More personal accountability, less government interference. He's all about that.
I am a California kid at heart in Texas. So
he's getting driven.
I don't even touch that stuff. Not with a 10-foot pole, man. I'm staying away from that.
Look, this health stuff is hard enough, Matt, to touch. Let's stay away from the politics. You know, last week we talked a little bit about functional movements, man, and you know, I thought it was key to get on the idea that you can have dysfunction in a joint, but you could also not have pain, and I think that's a big deal. But I tell you, you know, one of the common sites that we tend to see pain, and you must out there in Austin as well, is classic knee pain without trauma. Oftentimes people are complaining about that knee pain that's right, and it tends to be one-sided, of course, knee pain right on that patella or the kneecap, knee pain on the inside of the knee, very, very common. Research over and over now has shown us for years that treating these things with surgery really isn't any better than appropriately rehabbing them. We just get to get the knowledge to know how to rehab them. What are you guys seeing in the clinic? What's the common deals, and how might we be able to do a simple functional assessment at home to decide whether our mechanics are really holding tight in the and doing well in the knee?
Well, yeah. I mean, going back to what we talked about last week, where we were talking about just range of motion in the ankle and how to check that at home, and really how to deal with foot and ankle stuff on your own. Going back to that, I actually read an article this week about non-contact ACL injuries in kids. And basically what that means is a rupture of the ACL or an injury to the ACL without any trauma or contact. And what they found was they took 60 kids and checked their ankle range of motion, and 30 of them had an ACL injury, and 30 of them did not. And basically what they found was there was a 15% decrease in dorsiflexion, or the ability to pull the ball of your foot and your toes up towards your ankle in the ones with ACL injury. And really all that tells us is that there's a major correlation between ankle function and range of motion and the ability to stabilize your knee when you're in sport and athletics. And so just kind of touching back on that, kind of circling back to that, is it's really important to check all those joints, the whole kinetic chain, the ankle, knee, and hip, and low back. They all function as one unit, right? So that's really important to keep in mind as we start looking at different injuries. But when we start looking at knee pain, especially patellar stuff, so kneecap degeneration and kneecap tracking problems, that can lead to a lot of pain and dysfunction in endurance athletes and really athletes of all kinds. But basically, what you need to think about is the knee is kind of that awkward middle child. And in reality, it reacts to what the hip and the ankle are doing. And so we want to look above and below the knee whenever we start having dysfunction. But, the kneecap itself is really, it's just a translation of what the muscles above it, the quadriceps, are doing, how they're firing, and really a translation of whether they're tight or weak or anything like that. So one of the things that we really focus on in the clinic, and one thing that people can do at home, is just get on a foam roller and roll out your quads. Find those tight spots. You have 4 muscles that are involved in the quadriceps groups, and basically that's just the front of your thigh, and you just lay face down and roll that thing out. There's tons of YouTube videos on this kind of stuff, but roll out your quads and see how that really affects, take notice to which spots are tight, which spots are a little spicy, as we like to say. But check that out, sit on it, go 2 minutes on each side, roll it out, and really pay attention to how that affects your knee pain and knee tracking function.
I think it'd be worth warning people, the first time you do this, it's not like it's you don't have to have like a really, great mechanic's ear for this kind of thing. Like when you roll over a spot that is, like you said, spicy, it's going to tell you immediately that it is not feeling well. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I told we're not talking politics anymore, so I can agree with you right now, Paul. But yeah, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to find the spicy spots in your quads or really any part of your body. So when you're foam rolling, what I like to recommend to people is go about 1.5 to 2 minutes on each side and just find those spots and sit on them. So sit on them for 20 to 30 seconds and just kind of focus on letting it release a little bit. And then once you do that, kind of keep moving and find other spots and just spend time daily doing this stuff. Whether you have knee pain or not, it's important to take care of these muscles and make sure that they are loose and firing properly at all times, whether you have pain or not.
Hey, talking to Matt Smith, movement specialist and chiropractor out in Austin, Texas. Hey, I'm the oldest of you 3 guys. I'm the geriatric here. I'll tell you, Matt, it's an interesting thing that you said. I don't remember any single person that I went to school with, 0 classmates, that tore ACLs with no contact. That's a brilliant study you bring up. The relationship between knees and ankles. Any thought? We had AJ Taves on this show, scout for the Washington Capitals back. He looks at junior hockey players all the time. One of the things that he suggested was this specialization in sport at too young of an age. And so kids are not developing in different planes of motion because they're getting repetitive stress due to becoming a soccer player at 6 years old, a baseball player, a hockey player, what have you. Any thoughts on that, and are you seeing the same trend in Texas?
Oh, definitely. We've had a totally different kind of generation of injury development in young athletes because there's become a really huge trend of specialization in sport, and especially in rotational sports like baseball, tennis, really hockey is as well. You find this kind of stuff where kids, if I'm a right-handed hitter or a right-handed golfer or a right-handed tennis player, I'm going to be rotating with that right side quite a bit. So I'll be rotating to my left if I'm a hitter, a right-handed hitter, right? And that stress is kind of asymmetric or dysfunctional patterning in the body, and can lead to overload on tissues. And so if we're looking at it from an injury prevention and a performance standpoint, if you're going to be a specialized athlete, you got to make sure that your strength and conditioning program or the way that you prepare your body keeps you symmetrical. So it kind of it fights against. It doesn't just continue to groove that one pattern over and over, but really gets you moving in all three planes and strengthened in all three planes of motion as an athlete.
Hey, as always, man, good to talk to you. It's just tremendous advice today, and thanks for bringing out the paper. It's that kind of research is telling both for parents, but as well as for the kids. It's something that we're kind of missing. The increase is just exponential in some of these injuries. Again, like you mentioned, pitchers, you're seeing it all the time in elbows and shoulders. We're seeing it in the knees, and good stuff. Thanks for the advice on the foam roller. Good reminder on the ankle and the relationship. We'll hit the hip next week, man. Movement specialist Matt Smith, thanks a ton.
Hey, great to be on, guys. Have a good one.
Appreciate it. Hey, good stuff, Paul. And we've talked about this before. Is the over specialization at a pretty early age? You're just not getting all the different dynamic movements that we would get when you would go from football to baseball to basketball to hockey to track to volleyball, whatever. And you're just constantly moving in a different realm, and you're building the body up that way. Less repetitive stress.
Yeah, the one thing that I find at least a little more eye-opening now is the young age at which kids are doing Olympic lifts. I know when we were back in high school and even into college, they didn't really want to start you on Olympic lifts till you were, junior, senior in high school. But a lot of guys didn't even really start Olympic lifting till college. And part of the rationale behind it was, at least at the time, the belief was before, 15, 16 years old, Olympic lifts were more detrimental than anything else. And I've seen, just in track and field, you will see, 11, 12-year-old kids doing some cleans or doing some snatches before a meet or as part of their warm-up. And you got to wonder, if we're starting to overload these kids really early with Olympic-style lifts, which it's not bad to learn those things, but to really go after it 100%. Are you doing more damage, when the body's still developing? Are you doing more damage early that's going to, present itself later on in the form of maybe a career-ending injury or just long-term chronic fatigue in that area? Yeah,
Matt hit it too. Find a conditioning specialist that can dial into your kid so that you can personalize it to them, because every kid is going to be a little bit different in the way they fatigue, their strengths versus their weaknesses. It's a great point, man. You bring up good stuff. Always good stuff from Matt Smith. Guys, stay with us here on Living the Run on ESPN 1280 The Tick. We got Blood Boiler, Book of the Week, and do I get to or do I have to? All that still left right here. Stick with us.
You're listening to Living the Run on ESPN Radio 1280 The Ticket.
Folks, when it comes to the health of my teeth, I will not compromise, and neither should you. It's time you go where my wife and I go. Go see Dr. Ryan Ross. I get it. Not everyone loves a dentist, and heck, even a few of you out there are scared to death of these offices. Bad past experiences? Well, you ever had a bad haircut? How about a bad meal somewhere? You didn't stop getting your haircut, and you certainly didn't stop eating, so stop ignoring your teeth. Dr. Ross's gentle approach, calming demeanor, and office full of upbeat staff puts your dental fears to rest. Conveniently located in a great little house on Marsh Street downtown, Dr. Ross's office exudes the highest level of professionalism, mixed with an atmosphere much like your own home. Look, nobody's in a rush here. It's not a get 'em in, get 'em out atmosphere. Every time I'm in Dr. Ross's office, it's like I'm the only guy that matters. No distractions, just full focus on my oral health. If you're interested in the highest quality in dental care and want to walk out of the office every time with a smile, call Dr. Ryan Ross today, 541-5800.
Hey guys, Paul Terek from Living the Run here. As a former Olympian, there is only one place myself and fellow athletes go when it comes to chiropractic care on the Central Coast. With 4 chiropractors in the clinic, Slow Wellness Center is the largest, most comprehensive group of docs in San Luis Obispo County. I began seeing Dr. Rex Stevens back in 2005 for spinal adjustments to help maximize my performance, minimize my injury, and allow me to compete at my best. When the difference between a win and a loss can be just a fraction of an inch, perfect alignment in all joints is essential. One of the great things about the team at Slow Wellness is no matter where I had an issue, whether it was my spine, my foot, knee, wrist, or shoulder, they were always able to help. This team, made up of Dr. Rex and Molly Stevens, Dr. Sachs, and Dr. Bandolo, is sure to help you reach your health and fitness goals too. If it's chiropractic care you need, go where I go, Slow Wellness Center. Check them out at slowwellness.com or call 543-8688.
Hey everyone, Eric Fiallo here from leftlanesports.com. Are you tired of paying full retail on your favorite outdoor and endurance brands? Well, whether you run, bike, swim, hike, climb, or surf, leftlanesports.com has got you covered. Save 50 to 70% off retail every day on brands like Under Armour, Asics, New Balance, Timex, Hurley, Patagonia, and more. Visit leftlanesports.com and sign up for a free membership. Plus, save on shipping by picking up your order at our headquarters in San Luis Obispo. Leftlanesports.com. Gear you need, prices you want, service you deserve.
Arts Cyclery wants to invite everyone to join the celebration. Arts has just been voted the best bike shop in San Luis Obispo County for the 22nd year in a row. To celebrate, Arts has great pricing across the whole store and specials like free gloves with any Castelli jersey or short purchase, free laser sunglasses with the purchase of any laser helmet, plus so much more. So come down to Arts Cyclery at 181 Suburban Road and celebrate with great service, massive selection, and prices that will not be beat. Offers good while supplies last.
We're back with Living the Run.
Welcome back to Living the Run. Rex Stevens, Paul Terek. This segment brought to you by Art Cyclery. Check them out at artcyclery.com or right there on Suburban Road for all your cycling needs. The best, hands down the best in cycling knowledge and cycling gear. All right, Mr. Terek, blood boiler. What'd you do today?
Today's blood boiler was more of a long run for me, and I went about 25 minutes, but it was so I did it in blocks. So I would basically sprint a block, jog a block, sprint a block, jog a block. And after about 8 minutes, I figured it was the worst idea I'd ever had. And but it was, so instead, the sprint just got slower and slower is what happened.
Paul, we're supposed to be encouraging people to get out there, get their blood to boil.
Yeah, but
encourage them to exercise.
No. There's a difference between
not let them know that it was the worst idea
and delusion. The fact is, like, when you're going to get in shape, you're trying to get yourself in a better physical place, and in order to do that, you have to go to places that you don't go to every day that you're not comfortable in. And I had an idea that I thought would be good, and it was. Obviously, eyes bigger than my stomach. It was a little bit bigger than I could chew, and it hurt a little bit more than I wanted it to. But I finished it, and I was, better for it.
Getting out of your comfort zone, a good thing. We'll talk about that in just a second. Blood boiler for me. I got some lower digestive deal on Sunday, and it's very interesting what this thing did. It lasted for about 12 hours for me, but it has sat in my muscles, and you hear about this kind of stuff happening where these viruses get intracellular. And I tell you, my hamstrings and my glutes took it the most. My calves have taken it a little bit. Upper body seems to be fairly unscathed, but I'm in no mood for the workout you just did. So literally I just got out there and I just walked today. I hit some stairs walking. I got in the sunshine, tried to get my vitamin D and got my blood to move a little bit. But it was one of those times where it's when the immune system is down and potentially trying to recover. We've talked about this on the show before. You get too hard out there in the exercise world, you create immune suppression, and you're going to end up right back in the same place that you were a few days before. So a little bit different one for me today. I missed the guys out there on a Wednesday, one of my first times Missing it a long time.
I was even ready to come. I texted you. I didn't, and you tell me you're not doing it.
And you were ready, absolutely. But it is what it is. Hey, let's talk about. We're going to add this to the show. Brought to you by Left Lane Sports. Gear you need, prices you want, service you deserve. Check them out at leftlanesports.com. Book of the week, Paul. I challenge you to go for read a book a week. You don't have to do it, but when you do read one, sometime this year, go ahead and bring that in. We'll let you go the book of the week. I'll start it off.
So are you going to qualify it? Because I've read The Essential Calvin and Hobbes like 5 times this year. I'm going to bring that in and talk about it.
Guys, this is a book, we try to bring it to Living the Run in some aspect of health. This one is a little bit more in the spiritual, mental health side of things, if you will. It's called How Starbucks Saved My Life, written by Michael Gates Gill. Tagline is, the son of privilege learns to live like everyone else. This book is genius. You can read this thing in 1 or 2 days. If you're going on a flight, you're about to travel, grab it. You'll read it on the plane flight. But it is a guy who kind of grew up elitist in New York, always had privilege, always had money, worked for top ad agency, had huge clients. The guy name drops throughout this thing, and he kind of keeps going between his present life and his past. He throws it all away. He throws his marriage away. He loses all his money. And how he kind of restores through the environment, the atmosphere that Starbucks provides. I know we hear about this a lot. Starbucks does things differently with their partners, as they call it, or these people that work, the employees that work in there, the baristas, et cetera. But they also do it in the way they treat people, and they create an environment very positive. But one of the interesting things was what you had just said is getting out of your comfort zone. Here's a guy that gets before the Queen Elizabeth. He gets before Ernest Hemingway. When he was at Yale, he gets before Jackie Kennedy. He gets before big names, Robert Frost, big names of people. Tries to win over huge clients as an ad agency. Has no trouble doing that. He's a creative, amazing guy. But when he thinks about having to go run a cash register, when he thinks about having to make multiple drinks at one time, it starts to stress him out and it gets him out of his comfort zone. Great book. You'll leave warm. You'll leave inspired. You'll leave happier. Brilliant read. You got to check it out. How Starbucks Saved My Life.
Yeah, not that I'm rooting for paying $5 a cup for coffee, but did you hear that in the news just recently? I believe they're paying for education for some of their baristas now. Is this true or?
This is true. They're going in and now they're looking at education. One of the first things that they did, other companies didn't do was coming in with the health insurance for their employees. They're going to the education route. But it's more about the way they treat people, they treat one another. I tell you, as an athlete, someone who's competed in sports and still likes it, the team aspect of what some of them are doing, you can walk away from this book. It doesn't matter what part of your life you are in. You can learn something and take something from this book. I love How Starbucks Saved My Life.
Yeah, I remember Jill Starkey. She was a vaulter out here a couple of years back. She was a manager at one of the local Starbucks. I forget which one. But she actually talked about that too. She always referred to them, and this was probably 10 years ago now. Her team and always was into team building things and really wanted. It wasn't just like a coffee shop that you showed up, punched the clock, and left. So, not this opinion not brought to you by Starbucks or paid for by Starbucks, but it does. It's a new business model as opposed to the old one of get this job for a week, then use this job to barter for a better job, and who cares, about company loyalty.
Yeah, it makes you think a little bit differently. It makes you think a little bit differently about how you walk around in your community too. Even this hierarchy of jobs, I thought is a good book for college students. From the standpoint that so much we're looking to get that degree, we're looking to get that first job. We often label that degree, or we looking for a title, if you will. And we just do it without thinking that we start to rank titles, that one might be more important than another. And it goes into that whole concept as well. It made me think about last week we had CJ Silas on, and don't forget to tune into her show right here on ESPN 1280 The Ticket, CJ Silas show at 6 o'clock on Thursdays. But CJ is out. She's going to do a triathlon next weekend down in Santa Maria. First one ever, way out of her comfort zone. She's not a swimmer. She's not a cyclist. She's very fit. But it is pushing her limits both mentally and physically to go do it. And it's something that we often ask people to do on this show is to say, hey, get out and do something, put something on the calendar. It may be a little bit uncomfortable, but just take one step at a time. Your health is going to be better if you do.
Yeah, we talk about that all the time. I don't know one person that's finished a workout and said, man, you know what? I really wish I would have sat on the couch and not done that workout. Nobody wants to go do it. I mean, a lot of times it's easier just to stay home, but when you get out there and once you start moving, it just kind of builds on itself. And then when you're all done, you don't say, I really wish I wouldn't have done that. You go, man, I'm glad I got out there and I'm glad I really pushed it and I'm glad I made it through the hard part of it. And you can look back and reflect. Whereas if you just sit at home and sit on the couch, you get done sitting on the couch, you don't go, man, that was a great time on the couch. I really liked that part where I didn't move for 40 minutes. That was awesome.
I talked to a lady this week, and it made me think about it as well. She's got a lot of neck issues, a lot of degeneration, a lot of arthritis, a lot of chronic neck pain, if you will. And one thing that she used to love to do was swim. But the swimming itself, turning the head, she wasn't great at bilateral breathing, so it goes to what we just talked to Matt Smith about, this asymmetrical pattern of rotation one side and not the other, tend to flare up. But we talked about, and it's becoming more common, you see people out there with just a mask and a snorkel. They can keep their head down, they don't have to rotate the head, and they can still swim. And the first thing she said to me, she says, geez, I don't know if I could go out there and do that. And I said, what do you mean? And it was about getting out of your comfort. Aren't I going to look kind of silly? And
you look as silly as the other 10 people doing it.
Absolutely. I said, gosh, there's going to be somebody else out there. You're going to see somebody. Get out of your comfort zone and do something for your health. Worry less about what you're looking like. And she did it, and she feels a ton better.
Well, I love the fact that, and maybe it's just this local area, but I think it's becoming more mainstream, maybe with this whole bullying campaign that's going on now. Just generally, people tend to not judge as much right now because they're starting to at least get the bigger picture, understand, hey, the guy's out there swimming. It doesn't matter that he's not doing it totally right, or maybe his technique's a little off, or maybe he's using a snorkel and a mask or whatever. But the fact is, like, the guy's out there doing it. It's awesome. That's one of the most frustrating things is I have friends who, have just gotten into lifting or just gotten into training and working out. And then you see their Facebook page and they're like shaming somebody at the gym for doing an exercise the wrong way. And some of them are hysterical because it's like, dude, that rowing machine, not used that way. But at the same time, like the guy's in there, he's getting active, instead of taking a picture, put your camera down, walk over, say, hey, are you fully aware of how this thing works? And then if he is, then you can back up and take a picture, but maybe he just doesn't know.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I feel kind of the same way. It feels like there's a little bit more encouragement out there, a little bit less discouragement, a little bit less of the macho kind of thing going on. And I think it was a tough deal, Paul, and I've said this from the beginning is that when this kind of whole quote unquote health revolution started with respect to more gyms, more people working out, you started to see the covers of magazines featuring more muscles and this type of thing. It just got off a little bit and it became a little bit more of an ego-driven thing. And what you started to see is we still had the same health problems. Nobody was getting...
Dudes had just bigger biceps with those health problems.
Yeah,
exactly. Doc, I've got not only do I have heart disease, but I got a torn bicep now too. Could you help me?
Yeah, I think most of that stuff is going away, but I hear you. Less judgment is always a better thing. So, guys, if you didn't get the book review of that name, again, How Starbucks Saved My Life, Michael Gates Gill, the author. Man, phenomenal read. You got to get it. Quick read, but you'll be glad you did. All right, when we come back to wrap up the show, yeah, we will get to it. Literally. Do I get to? Or do I have to? Big question. And as always, tips and takeaways. You're listening to Living the Run.
You're listening to Living the Run on ESPN Radio 1280 The Ticket.
Hey guys, Paul Terek from Living the Run here. As a former Olympian, there is only one place myself and fellow athletes go when it comes to chiropractic care on the Central Coast. With 4 chiropractors in the clinic, Slow Wellness Center is the largest, most comprehensive group of docs in San Luis Obispo County. I began seeing Dr. Rex Stevens back in 2005 for spinal adjustments to help maximize my performance, minimize my injury, and allow me to compete at my best. When the difference between a win and a loss can be just a fraction of an inch, perfect alignment in all joints is essential. One of the great things about the team at Slow Wellness is no matter where I had an issue, whether it was my spine, my foot, knee, wrist, or shoulder, they were always able to help. This team, made up of Dr. Rex and Molly Stevens, Dr. Sachs, and Dr. Bandolo, is sure to help you reach your health and fitness goals too. If it's chiropractic care you need, go where I go, Slow Wellness Center. Check them out at slowwellness.com or call 543-8688.
Hey everyone, Eric Fiallo here from leftlanesports.com. Are you tired of paying full retail on your favorite outdoor and endurance brands? Well, whether you run, bike, swim, hike, climb, or surf, leftlanesports.com has got you covered. Save 50 to 70% off retail every day on brands like Under Armour, Asics, New Balance, Timex, Hurley, Patagonia, and more. Visit leftlanesports.com and sign up for a free membership. Plus, save on shipping by picking up your order at our headquarters in San Luis Obispo. leftlanesports.com. Gear you need, prices you want, service you deserve.
Puma Aquatics team offers year-round swim programming for novice, recreational, and competitive swimmers. For 16 years, Puma has developed some of the fastest swimmers on the Central Coast, as well as the nation. Puma has 3 convenient locations to choose from, providing programming for all of San Luis Obispo County. Puma offers swim assessments for new swimmers on Tuesdays and Thursdays at the SLO Kennedy Club, Atascadero Kennedy Club, and Arroyo Grande High School. For more information about Puma Aquatics, check out pumaswim.org. Join the Puma Pride and challenge yourself to reach new levels in your swimming. Puma Aquatics, where pride, passion, and persistence pay off.
Arts Cyclery wants to invite everyone to join the celebration. Arts has just been voted the best bike shop in San Luis Obispo County for the 22nd year in a row. To celebrate, Arts has great pricing across the whole store and specials like free gloves with any Castelli jersey or short purchase, free laser sunglasses with the purchase of any laser helmet, plus so much more. So come down to Art Cyclery at 181 Suburban Road and celebrate with great service, massive selection, and prices that will not be beat. Offers good while supplies last.
Did you know that many people endure aches and pains in their feet, legs, and back, but few recognize the solution for some of the more common causes are as simple as a more supportive and comfortable insole? At Cadence Insoles, we understand the insole in your shoe provides the first line of support and comfort for your feet. Designed by physical therapists and recommended by podiatrists, Cadence Insoles provide the elusive combination of orthotic support with the shock-absorbing comfort of an insole. A local business? Visit cadenceinsoles.com for more information. Cadence Insoles. Support made comfortable.
We're back with Living the Run.
Hey, great show. Fun time tonight. As always, if you missed any of it, check us out on facebook.com/livingtherun. We'll put the podcast up and you can hear it. Always good stuff when you start to talk musculoskeletal and mechanics, symptomatic or asymptomatic. But here's something that I wanted to talk about. You know, this morning I got in and reading, thinking about lists. You know, people make lists every day, Paul, and one of the great stressors, I think, on people's lives is this idea that they have to get so many things done. They've got these things going on through their head, whether it's chores at home, whether it's things they got to do at work, whether it's things related to their kids' schedule, things that have to be done, maintenance on their cars, et cetera, and they're just going down the list every day. And, you know, Americans tend to be list makers. They just tend to constantly put things on the list. And the reality is the list never ends. I think one thing that was important that as I read this morning, they just gave the suggestion of this. When you look at all that you're going to do in the day, or you go and look at that list, what 2 words do you put in front of each item? And we can put in front of each item, I have to do X, Y, or Z. I have to take the kids to school. I have to do this phone conference. I have to get the dishes done. And the list goes on and on. Or can you put the 2 words, I get to? And it's an interesting thing that happens because I've done this all day long with virtually everything I've tried to do is I put those 2 words, I get to do this. I tell you, it changes the framework of your mind so dramatically to a positive and thankful mindset versus a frustrated, stressed, and oftentimes worked up and fatigued mindset by the end of the day, because you oftentimes go, geez, I didn't get anything done. Nothing came off my list, or I still tomorrow have to do this many more things. I get to versus I have to.
Maybe the reason that you feel less stressed is because you've merely transferred that that energy to your, energy neither created nor destroyed. All you've done is transfer it to your wife while she's saying, Rex, we need to take the garbage out. And you sit there philosophizing about, do I have to or do I get to? And then by the end, she just takes the garbage out and she's angry with you. So while you feel better about the garbage being out and not having made the decision, maybe you better check on that.
I've created more stress for myself.
Yes, in the end.
Creating discombobulation in my relationship with my spouse.
Well, maybe not.
Or
Maybe
my
not.
employees. You know, we try to work as a team, and they're wondering, why is he not doing anything today?
Why is Rex sitting there on the
He's
chair?
figuring
again?
out,
What is he doing?
I get to versus I have to. No, it's really kind of a neat thing. I would challenge everybody to do that. Man, we have to be so thankful living here in San Luis Obispo. The stuff that we do get to do on a regular basis. It started for me just making food this morning. I get to scramble up some eggs. I get to sit down in a chair and actually eat it. I get to have a dishwasher that actually takes these dishes and cleans them very easily. You start to become thankful pretty darn quickly when you use the get to phrase. I encourage you guys, you listen to the show, put get to.
How do you qualify a get to, though? Because could you just be delusionally happy at this point and just saying you get to everything?
I don't know. But I get to choke and cough as I'm trying to get through this on the radio. You know, the more the point is be thankful, be grateful. We have a lot to be grateful for. And gratefulness and thankfulness really does, as we talked about before the show, when you're starting to talk about the energies and things that you're putting out there, man, it does reduce stress. We know that. It changes you neurochemically. It changes hormone profiles. And, you know, just another way, a simple way to manage stressors and get healthier.
Yeah, you know, Milt Campbell he was a gold medal decathlete back in, 56, I think. He had a great theory on, you know, just his whole concept was put like thought, you know, energy returns like energy kind of thing. Put the thoughts you put out to the universe are going to return like thoughts to you kind of thing. And it, at the time, sounded kind of like, you know, weird and
sounds corny.
hippie-ish and corny. But exactly like you said, when you start to look at things from that perspective, you know, we've talked about this before, working out or making dietary decisions. It's not, I can't have a soda. I'm not telling myself I can't have a soda. I'm telling myself I can have this water, I can quench my thirst, and I can be healthier because I'm doing this and allow myself X, Y, and Z over this choice over here kind of thing. So it's just a perspective, I think, that you look at it from, changes your mindset, and then when your mindset starts to change, it starts to open up new possibilities and new opinions about things that you maybe previously hadn't considered.
Hey, tips and takeaways tonight brought to you by Puma Aquatics. Check them out at pumaswim.org. Your local swim club, swim team, whether you're a novice or advanced, get with Puma Swim, get with Judd Clark. We're going to try to get him on the show next week. Tips and takeaways from you, the Olympian.
I'm gonna say, you know, I've already said it today, but getting out of your comfort zone. No matter what you're doing, you know, none of us are perfect. We all need to improve, whether it's physically, spiritually, you know, mentally, whatever it is. You need to be able to do things that maybe aren't necessarily comfortable for you. You know, some people don't like public speaking. Some people don't like being up in front of people. But I think it builds character. You know, it's one of those things you have to do to find out maybe why you don't like it. And then maybe that will open up more doors for you down the road. So I'd say get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, I like that. And I like this book review. There's a review on the back. Dr. Wayne Dyer reminds us that there is no way to happiness. Rather, happiness is the way. Guys, if you didn't get it, it's a great, great book. You need to get it. Our first book review of the week here on Living the Run, How Starbucks Saved My Life. Pick that one up. You will be glad you did. Thanks to our guest, Matt Smith, movement specialist and chiropractor out in Austin, Texas. And thanks to all you for listening right here on Living the Run. We'll be back next week at 6 o'clock. Thanks to Paul Terek, myself, Rex Stevens. Folks, live healthy, live bold every day. Choose to live the run.